Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, incredible seekers. Today we're in a new episode, a very interesting episode, because we're gonna talk about one incredible question.
And this question might seem a little funny first. And I don't think we will give any sort of actual answer to this question. But we might attempt to break it down so it's easier for you to answer it if you didn't yet. And that question is, what is the meaning of life? Where do we start? Let's break it word by word.
Okay.
Life is a great word to start with. Do we talk about our own life? Do we talk about life in general as a whole? Do we talk about both at the same time? Do we talk about our life as a part of this big life overall? It's a great question, and it's up to you really to define for yourself. For me, I don't know how is it for you, but for me the most comfortable definition is that the small life that is the most up to me is a part of this big life, and what is my place there? What about you? How do you define that word life in this question?
Okay, so first, I completely agree with the perspective that there is kind of a small part of life, there is a big part of life, but I also think that they kind of complement each other, so they function as a whole. From my perspective, life is everything. So there are a lot of illusory perspectives where we might think that we're just humans, that we're just individuals, that we're separate from that tree and that lake, and that we're separate from everything. But from my perspective, life is everything that we can perceive at every time. So that's the first thing. For me, life is a whole. Now, life obviously subdivides in different types. I think I might tell it in this moment in different types of consciousness. So there is the consciousness of the individual, of the human, that we're conscious and we think that we're humans. We are at this moment not capable of perceiving that we're everything, so we perceive that we're human. And by perceiving that we're humans, we take a role in society, and we take a role in this world, because as we're a whole, each one is complementary with each other. The world needs humans, but also needs plants, but also needs chairs, but also needs seekers, everything. We're complementary. So also, we have to understand that life, when we talk about individual life, is the kind of role you play in this world. So that's my kind of big definition of life.
Mm-hmm. But we kind of found a common ground in there.
Okay.
With life and how we define it as our small own one, and at the same time a part of bigger this huge life of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might have more trouble with the word meaning. And here we encounter real problems with you. Meaning is a very important, dangerous, and at the same time type of word that can have pretty much any definition depending on the person. For someone like me, meaning is one. For you, meaning is another. For someone who deeply believes in God, meaning can be different. For atheists, it's another meaning. For those who try to maximize pleasure, it's another meaning. And it's very hard when we have to define meaning as a category of our perspective, right? It's like, well, we have some sort of rules that we live by, and among these rules we need to put meaning that doesn't contradict those rules. However, we can also derive rules from the meaning, and that's something I did for myself. I decided, well, I first will define meaning for myself, and I think that rules will arrive from there. What is your take on meaning? Where is your meaning, grounded in?
What's the mean of my meaning?
Yes, what's the meaning of your meaning? Yes, sure.
Okay, first, I find really interesting what you just said, that you first find the meaning and then you adapt the rules based on that meaning. Okay, for me, it's kind of different. For me, sometimes meaning, when we try to define things, we're limiting things. So when we just give a definition, for example, of life, we're limiting the real meaning of life, because we put just that life is from here to here. For me, life first is not limited, so it's limitless in all its aspects. For me, life doesn't have a definition, because from my perspective, there are so much infinite inputs, outputs, perspective, these perspectives, so much things that defining life or giving a meaning not just to life but for things is sometimes limiting. Although that's what life is in this moment. We have to adapt to the meanings. We cannot live without meanings, because then we couldn't live. But for such a delicate topic as life, I think, we should give kind of a meaning to our life, because we all are different and we all have different interests. And it is, I think, a nice experience to define life on how we perceive it and what we prioritize. I think that's good. But I also think that defining it could limit our perspective of life. That's my perspective.
But at the same time, would you say that there is some sort of meaning that you pursue now?
Okay, so I think, as everything we speak in the podcast, is a balance. You have to understand that in one side, life is limitless. You cannot control the meaning of life for the entire life if we're viewing it as a whole. That's one side. Now we come to another side where there is a personal perspective. And yes, I think also it's very important to take into account our priorities, what drives us, what motivates us, and based on what we feel, on our feelings, on our subconscious mind, is where we can define the real meaning of our life. So we have to be conscious of both, of the limitless of life and of the personal perspective of our life. And that's how we can give kind of a meaning to our lives.
Do you have that definition for yourself? Do you have that kind of,
The meaning of my personal life,
yes, of your person?
I won't define it for I won't give the meaning for all my life. I will give the meaning
for now.
of my life in now. And I think the meaning of life, of my life now, it's gonna sound kind of funny, but it's live without preoccupations, without being worried of results, of things that will happen, just flowing with the flow of life, with what life's put you in your side, with what life put you in your path, and just flow. And that's what makes me happy in this moment. What about you?
Well, that's kind of different for me because I ask a lot myself about what is my personal meaning in this big meaning of life. And I actually defined it with my favorite science. I defined it using physics. You see, in physics, any energy is conserved. When there is kinetic energy, there is potential energy, and even then, there is heat. This energy kind of fades away, but it never leaves. It never really fades away. It becomes, in some sense, unimportant, but it's also only because we see it as unimportant. And all this energy has two things in common: how much of it and in what direction it goes. We in our life control a lot about how much we input, and that is very important. But what is much more important for me is the direction we give it. And I believe that if I can give my energy, all my energy I possibly can, the right direction in this world, towards goodness, towards happiness of our people, towards something I define as virtue, I'll try my best to do it. And that would be my meaning of life. Because my energy, at the end of the day, will outlive me. That's what I give it.
Wow. Beautiful, my friend.
Well, seekers,
to conclude, basically, there is not a general meaning of life, right?
no.
No?
So find one for yourself and maybe just think about it. Think how you define life or don't define it, how you define meaning or don't define it. What is the purpose of your small life and of the big life around you, and how you fit in? You might find a lot of interesting answers, especially because you're seekers.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.